recording, and you should all see my screen now for transportation planning, transportation management, track and trace. So let's get started. And Daniel, just keep me informed if anything comes up that is important in the chat, and we'll get started now.
Will do.
Okay,
Brian.
so thank you. Thank you. So what are we going to look at first? A brief overview of the TM solution and the change impact, the end-to-end process with the roles involved, and what actions happen when throughout the process. Also some TM related concepts that you may or may not be familiar with, and the TM enterprise roles. Now we can go through this quite fast. We've lost half an hour, but I think the overview session is something you're familiar with already, but still I want to just go over it. And then we'll jump into the upload file navigation and updates, which basically is going to cover the uploading of the files, well, the actual upload files for COE and troops and how they're populated and how they generate the upload files themselves, how to request the master data, where to go to request it and find the documents that you need to request master data. Also the forwarding order, freight unit, freight order documents, what they are and how to find them in TM, as well as how to navigate and set up these documents in TM. You'll realize that although TM seems like it's defaulted in terms of what you see on screen, there are many things you can do in the system that allow you to view not only the documents, but the search pages in a very personalized fashion. So let's get started with the overview. So the upload files that we should all be familiar with, basically, or you should already be working with, as far as I know, is the troops and COE load lists for air, sea, and land, which basically will generate load files, which are an Excel and a text file that we will be using to upload to TM. Okay, but basically before we even go and upload these files to TM, the first part of this session, we're going to be taking a look at these load lists first. Then basically once we generate in TM the documents that are needed, which are the forwarding orders, we'll also have what is known as a freight unit. And I know that some of you have already received some sort of training. Also, some of you were in phase 1, so you may or may not be familiar with these concepts. Nonetheless, we'll go through them. Okay, and understanding that the freight units in this case stand for either the equipment that we're going to be transporting or the troops, depending on the type of Excel file that we're going to be using and uploading to TM. But these Excel files or load lists, once they are uploaded to TM, they generate both the forwarding order and the freight units simultaneously. Okay. Yes, I hear something. No questions there? All right. So
no, there. I think that someone left the microphone muted.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel. So what do we do once we have our forwarding order and our freight units in TM? We will basically manage our transportation, and this transportation can be managed depending on the means of transportation that we select, either by truck, sea, or air. And these transportation proposals will generate, once we have let's say selected the best proposal and generated our freight orders, which show here with our estimated cost. We'll also have an SOW document, and we'll dig into that throughout the sessions to understand how that's going to work in our favor in the long run, as well as why planning transportation will also work in our favor, and having all the estimated cost and the actual cost details in TM, why that will also in the long run benefit the UN as an organization. Once we have managed our transportation, what we're looking at here is the track and trace portion of TM, which will come after the solicitation process has happened, where we have the actual transportation routes from the carriers, the actual charges, and the actual dates. And now I know this is just the overview, so there's a lot more to cover, but we'll go through each one of these steps in detail throughout the week. I'm basically just telling you what we're going to cover throughout this training. Okay, we'll see that once we have generated our transportation proposals, and these have now have been split into different stages in the pre-carriage, the main carriage, and also the on-carriage stages, which are basically the freight orders generated after we've accepted our planning. And now how, thanks to TM, we can manage the events of transportation in detail in real time and keeping all our data centralized and transparent. Okay, so this is just basically an overview of something I believe you are already familiar with. Maybe not much in detail, but I still have to go over this. So this is sort of a drawing of what we're going to go over this week. Okay, there's a lot of information here, but we'll go into it in detail. So unless you guys stop me, I'm basically going to move on to our next screen here. And hold on, let me just move over to my presentation here so it works better. All right, so here we go. So first thing, the change impact. Why using TM and why is TM going to be beneficial for the organization? So one of the first and obvious things is optimization, right? We now have a better route selection for movements and resource utilization, which in the long run will improve transportation management, effectiveness, and efficiency. Okay, we can also, and we'll learn how to do this as well, even though it's only one particular scenario for COE and troops, where we can consolidate the volumes across missions, adopting more flexible bundle delivery methods. Not sure how familiar you are with when we consolidate freight units in TM, but we'll learn how to do that as well. And last but not least, the more regular deliveries, maximizing our use of existing resources, increasing agility and flexibility of the supply chain process. So I'm basically going to display here the benefits of using TM. We're now going to focus on the cost, of course, by now having a more hands-on approach on what routes we're selecting, understanding the routes that are available, the estimated cost for choosing one route or another. We're going to not only optimize transportation, but we're also going to reduce operating cost, okay, by considering the total cost landed. Not only based on the historical data we may have, but also the data that we are gathering now by using TM. This is also done with the SOW document now generated in TM that we're going to use for solicitation, in which we'll already have, and this is particular for COE and troops, the estimated cost for the routes and the goods transported. Our next point here is also visibility, which now we can have the view of different routes and modes of transport with the track and trace system for all shipments. And also, and we'll see this a little more on day 5, not only with TM, but also the BI, the reporting system for TM called BI. Not sure if you're familiar with it or not sure if you have the roles for it, but we'll see how now the availability of this data will be very helpful for the UN in the long run by capturing all movements in one single system, and we'll have eventually more historical data to collect and learn more from the costs of the transportation that the UN is managing. Okay, we'll move on to our end-to-end scenario here. And now this is going to be more specific to the step-by-step process and the roles involved in each one of these steps. This may look familiar to those of you who were in the phase 1 training, but nonetheless, let's take a look at this. I think it's very useful to even have this as a printout in the office so that you understand the step-by-steps of not only the load list, Excel for COE and troops, but also what we do once we're in the system, if we're a TS01 or if we are a TS02, which are the only 2 roles that we're going to be focusing on during this training. Okay, so the first step, as we saw in the slide before, was the update of the Excel load list, and this is done offline. We're going to be doing that today, okay, updating the Excel load list, and even we'll see if we have time to maybe upload one of those load lists into TM. That will take us now to the TM planner role, which would be to upload this load list into TM. That will generate automatically, as you can see here, in this case, it's the Umoja system that does this, automatically generates your forwarding orders, which will capture all the information from the load list in terms of cargo, pickup location, delivery location, delivery dates, the troops contributing country, the mission where goods are supposed to be shipped to or from. We'll see that also in a bit. This forwarding order will be created simultaneously with the freight unit, which is basically everything that we can transport at once. So we have a forwarding order with the details of the transportation requirement And we have a freight unit which tells us exactly what we're transporting and also the stages that will be involved in this transportation. So in this case, we're going to be talking about either contingency owned equipment or troops, because those are the two scenarios we're going to be looking at in this training. So once we have our forwarding orders in our freight units, this takes us to our next step, which is the planning. Okay, and this planning, again, still performed by the TS01, can be divided into two stages, as we see here, one for LOA scenarios, as well as one for non-LOA scenarios. And we see that for the LOA scenarios, Umoja automatically creates the freight orders. Freight orders, so we have an idea of what this stands for if we don't know already. The freight orders are basically the legs in a transportation route. So we may have 3 legs, which means we'll have one leg that's going from the troops contributing country to the port or airport, then another leg that will go from one airport to another, which would be considered the main leg, and then our final leg. This would be a very basic scenario. Our final leg, which would be the one from the receiving port to the receiving location. So in an LOA scenario, the system automatically generates those legs for the user. Okay. Also assigning the carriers to the freight orders. So basically, this means that the troops contributing country will be responsible for the transportation. So Umoja takes care of not only creating the freight orders, but also assigning the carriers directly from the information that we have provided in the Excel load list. Okay, once we have that, we also have to know that the TM planner in this scenario, even though we're talking about an LOA scenario, also has the means, and sometimes we can say responsibility, of going into TM and managing, let's say, these freight orders. Okay, if let's say they're incorrect, or if something needs to be done from the TM side, even for LOA scenarios, the TM planner could have the responsibility of managing these freight orders. Okay, and the difference between the LOA scenario and the non-LOA scenario is what? Well, eventually that's what takes us to this point here. The TM planner now will have a lot more responsibility in non-LOA scenarios, which is basically whatever is not DAP, correct? So we're talking about either XWorks or DAP scenarios, LOA for DAP and non-LOA for XWorks scenarios, meaning that now the TM planner, which is the TS01, will have to do the work of selecting the freight units, which is all the goods we're transporting together, in the TM cockpit, and we're going to learn to do this as well, to generate the proposals. So once we have selected the best freight units in the TM cockpit, the Umoja system will generate our proposals. And now I know I'm going through this, let's say, quite fast, but I think this is just an overview of the end-to-end scenario and the roles. Again, I recommend you keep this end-to-end process in mind, and if you can, even print it out. But we're going to do this during the training step by step. All right, if at any point you want to stop me or clarify something, please do. Once the Umoja system has generated the proposals, the TM planner will select the best proposal, and we'll do that here as well in the training. And the Umoja system will calculate the estimated charges, and from there also create the freight orders. But again, this is based on the selection that the TM planner has performed in the system. Okay, so the TM planner selects the freight units, and that's when the option to either combine routes is available. Again, in this case, we only have one particular scenario that we'll cover, and then we select the best proposal. So all the generated freight orders in the non-LOA scenario are going to be based on the selections of the TS01, who is the TM planner. And then last but not least, the TM planner generates the SOW document. And from there, we would move on to our next phase in the process, which is the procurement of freight. Again, only applicable to non-LOA scenarios, and where in the person with the requisitioner role would create the shopping cart for freight. You're all familiar with this process. This is not related to TM. Then it would be approved. Buyer would select the shopping cart and here create the RFX. The solicitation process would occur offline, and then again, buyer would intervene, create the PO for freight, get the PO for freight approved, And here's where TM comes back into play. Okay, once we have now the actual routes, dates, and charges, now the new role comes in, which is linked to PD freight, which is the TS02, comes in into TM, and based on the information now gathered from the solicitation process, we'll now have to go into TM and manage the freight orders. Doing what? First, assigning now the carriers that we obtained through the solicitation process and assigning the freight PO as well. I think I'm missing here an PO to freight PO, so I'm missing a P over here. Okay, I'll make sure I edit that. And once the carrier has been assigned and the freight PO has been assigned to all those freight orders, we now add the actual routes, dates, and the charges. Okay, as we go through the training and we go through the days in the system, planning transportation and updating freight orders, we're going to constantly come back to this end-to-end process so we understand where we are each day. Okay, and you'll see how this is very beneficial for you. And last but not least, the execute and monitor stage, where the now TS01, again, we're back to the TM planner, will have to monitor the events. Okay, so here again, we have the two scenarios, LOA and non-LOA. And these two scenarios, the TM planner would update the events. We're talking about expected and the unexpected events, as well as upload attachments and add notes. And for the non-LOA scenario, we have two possible situations where one, the TS05 or the carrier with the role of the TS05 will update the events in CCP. We'll also take a look at CCP and we'll submit some events through there and see how the system communicates with TM, as well as upload attachments and add notes. Or the TM planner can do that on the carrier's behalf in TM. Okay, so we have a very similar situation in both. For the LOA scenario, the TM planner submits the events on behalf of the truth contributing country in TM. And in the non-LOA scenario, the TM planner can do so if the carrier does not do so in CCP. All right, so this is the end-to-end process. These are the steps basically that we're going to be not only overlooking, but also performing in the system through demos. So if there's any question now, I can stop and go over some of the questions. I don't know, Daniel, if there's anything in the chat. If not, I'll move on to my next slide, which is basically TM related concepts. So I'll leave the slide here displayed. Let me know, Daniel, if there's anything.
Hi, Brian. So far, there are no questions. I do see that the explanations on the end-to-end scenario, it's very clearly explained. So I don't see any comments or questions, but I will not hesitate to stop you in case there are any comments or questions. So we cope those questions in the minute that they arise. And for the rest, I think everything is okay. We have full house here in terms of number of attendees as well.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Perfect. So let's move on with the TM.
Nicole is on board.
Oh,
Nicole is on board.
All right, good to know. Okay, perfect. All right, so the TM related concepts. So concepts we're going to be dealing with throughout the week. You may be familiar with them or not. You have this presentation to go back to them, so we can basically just take a quick look at them. We have a lot of acronyms that we're dealing with here in the presentations and also in the system. And I'll be repeating things like freight order or the freight unit, but maybe I say freight, the FU or the FO, and we constantly go back to these acronyms, SOW, so we should become familiar with these. They're all here on screen. You have the presentation as well. The transportation cockpit, the difference between the expected and unexpected events, EDI, and so on. So I leave these TM related concepts here. I don't think we need to spend time going over them and reading them out loud. Also the LOA, non-LOA scenarios, what EM stands for, or FPO, which is the freight purchase order. Okay, so I'm basically gonna skip through this and move on. The roles that we're going to be focusing on, mainly for COE and troops, the transactional roles in TM are TS01 and TS02. So we have here our TS01 called TM Transportation Planner. So in a nutshell, we're talking about here the duties or the actions that the MoveCon staff would have to perform in TM versus the TS02, which is PD for freight that we're talking about here, the TM managed freight orders role. If we want to make a separation between the two roles, the first would be more dedicated to planning the transportation, dealing with the Excel load list, and also managing the events, while the TS02 would have to basically manage the freight orders. We saw that in the end-to-end scenario, assigning the carrier, assigning the freight PO, and then also updating the actual cost, dates, and locations after the solicitation process is done. Okay, so that is a basic.
Brian,
yes.
Could we have a minute, please? I just would like to speak with my team.
Absolutely.
Off mic. Give me
Sure.
a minute,
So,
I'll be back.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, Brian, I think that she's discussing with her team whether there are any questions or to compile all of them and propose them live. Over to you.
All right, thanks, Daniel. So we'll just wait for a quick minute. I would actually pause the video, but in MS Teams, I'm unsure if it's going to create two videos every time I click on the recording button. So I'm just going to let it roll. Hopefully it's a quick minute.
Okay, we're back. That's fine.
All right.
Keep on going.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so our next the enterprise roles that we're also going to, or at least we should become familiar with here, are the TS04, TS05, just because we're going to be talking a lot about the master data, right, and requesting master data. And we're going to learn that we have to do this throughout different stages in the training. And we should know that the role is the TS04. That's going to be the role of the person or staff members that will have to update master data in TM, and the role of the carrier or the carrier that will have the TS05 role and will be responsible for submitting events, adding attachments and notes to the freight orders is the TS05. So we have to become familiar with these as well. I have also added slides with the explanation and definition of what is expected by each role. So I'm sure we can take a look at this, I guess, on your own time. I think we can just move through this. I don't want to read the slides out loud, but you have them here. I've highlighted in green what I think are the key aspects of what's expected of the TS01. The same thing for the TS02. As well, and I also took the liberty to add the responsibilities of the TS04 and 05. So I think that it's very well explained in the slides. So take some time to read through this. If we don't deal with some of these things today, but you have questions tomorrow, we can also deal with that tomorrow. But I think where we want to get to as soon as possible is right here, the upload files, right? And let's take a look at the upload files for troops and COE. Again, remember that we have one file that we're going to be updating. Once we have updated it, we will generate the load files, which are both an Excel file and a text file that we're going to be uploading to TM. In this particular case, we're only going to be uploading the text file because we're talking about the training environment, and that's the only one that works. Okay, and let's become a little more familiar with some of the tabs and sections of this load list here, whether you are or not. I think it's worth taking a look. So we'll realize that we have different amount of tabs depending on the load list that we're looking at. So in this particular one, I selected these tabs because I think this summarizes what we need to know. We have a forwarding upload tab, which is basically the tab, the part of the Excel where all the information is put together, right? So everything that we have in our summary tab, in our reference location, or the reference TCC mission tab will eventually have an impact in this forwarding order. Upload tab, which looks like this right here. We're going to be looking at these Excels as well. and seeing how each one of these fields, depending on the color, is affected directly by another tab, right? Whether because we're selecting the master data from the reference tabs or because we're updating the data from the summary tab. Okay, but basically the forwarding order upload tab is the one that will contain the information that will be going into TM. So we have to make sure that everything that is in this forwarding order upload tab is accurate, has no errors, and basically the button to generate our load files will be here as well. So we'll take a look at that in a second. Let's check our summary tab. Basically, our summary tab should contain the, as it's well named, the summary of the cargo list information. So all the information we get from either the troops contributing country or the contingency contributing country will be here summarized, and you'll see when we look at the Excels, I'm sure you're familiar with them as well. And here's where we're going to be performing the updates and changes that will have an impact in the forwarding order upload tab, right? But a lot of the details added here come directly from the reference tabs, whether it's the reference location or the TCC mission location. And we'll see how important these tabs become when selecting the proper locations or missions or troops contributing countries, and how important it is when we do not find the master data in these reference tabs, what we're supposed to do to have it, right? So we're not supposed to manually update or insert information in the forwarding order upload tab if it's not in the reference locations. Let's say, for example, you're missing a shipping point or you're missing a location in the reference location tab. You don't just write it out in your forwarding order upload tab here. Okay, you will have to basically make sure it's not there and then request the master data. Okay, so we'll look into that in detail. Right, that's really the focus of this session. We're also going to look at the generation of the load list from this button that is found in the Excel file. Let's move on, and eventually where these files are generated. It's very important that wherever you keep your main, let's say, macros Excel file is where you're going to have the generation of the other documents, the text file and the Excel file as well. So make sure that wherever you keep the main file, you know where it is to find where the system has generated the other two load lists.
Yes,
okay,
Brian?
So yes, tell me.
Yuri is asking whether it would be possible to zoom in a little bit, because in the presentation seems to be too small. I don't know if we can do something about it. Over to you.
I guess, yeah, the screenshots were probably small in the this scenario here.
Yeah,
we're going to be
exactly.
looking at the Excel like live. We're going to go into an Excel. We're going to start performing changes there, so don't worry about that. And I can zoom in as much as we want. Okay, so I'm just going through a couple more slides, and let's get into the Excel. We'll zoom into the fields, and we'll go through what I want to show you today. Okay, I also added a slide here for the master data request forms. So you have a link here directly to just click on this link. Will take you to the TM master data form. So if I'm going to click on here live and see if it takes me directly to the yeah, right there. It's loading now. I want to show you guys the location. So this is part of the, okay, it's showing now. Okay, I just clicked on the link. You guys can click on the link on the PowerPoint presentation. This will take you directly to the page from the master data maintenance. You just have to scroll down a little bit more until you get to the section for transportation management. Okay, so we see here we have our master data, and if we scroll down a little more, we have our transportation management templates here. So the section begins here, and we have a template for each of the things we're looking for, whether it's a contact person, CIF template, assigned transshipment points, COE pickup location. So depending on what it is that we're requesting, we'd have to click on the link that's in that PowerPoint presentation, unless you know how to get to this section directly, and selecting one of the accurate templates, depending on what it is we're requesting. If you guys take a look to the right, it says, if requesting one time, submit the info path form to, and it gives you the email. If requesting multiple items, submit both the info path form and the Excel template. Okay, so basically we have the info path form here and the Excel template here. So multiple items, both, one single item, just one. Okay, so I think it's quite self-explanatory. I actually recommend you spend some time going to this page, clicking on some of the forms, understanding how they work and the type of information they request. All the data is here. So we have zones, TM products, locations, and so on. So all you have to do is click on that link, scroll down a little bit until you get to the section for a transportation management. All right, so I'm gonna click out of this, go back to our presentation here, and you also have a nice screenshot of what that looks like. Okay, so remember, just click on the link, it's here for you. Also, each PowerPoint presentation has a slide with all the job aids. All right, so now I'm going to go back and forth between the slides here in my PowerPoint and also the Excel. So I think I have an Excel here ready. Here it is. Okay, and I can zoom in a little more. Okay, so we have the Excel. I think this is probably big enough. We see that this Excel particularly is the one for multiple or several locations for COE C. Okay, so this is the upload form for contingency owned equipment C, several locations. So you guys have an idea of what this Excel looks like. I am under the impression, as far as I know, you guys are familiar with the Excel, not sure what the level is. That's why we're going to be playing around with some of this right now. But this is just one of the Excel templates. Now, each one of the templates that you'll be using, whether it's for several locations, for simple inbound flights, outbound flights, whether we're talking about troops and not COE templates, these templates should not be, let's say, tampered with, right? Because they have the formulas set up. So what I'm trying to say is if you, let me just click on escape here. If you go section by section or field by field here, you'll realize that the fields are directly linked to a formula that is directly linked to another section in the Excel itself. So we see at the bottom a long list of tabs here. We have 3 summary tabs, 1 forwarding order upload tab, 2 reference locations, and then we have the paste summary tab that's specific to this Excel. I first want to show you how this works, and let's then generate a number of load files that we can work on later in TM. All right, so our source location is in red, and there's a reason for that. Then we have another source location here, which comes from the reference location tab because we added Port-au-Prince here. That automatically populated this field, and we'll play around with this and see. If I keep clicking on the other fields, you'll realize each one of them is linked to a formula. We're also here with the pickup from and pickup to dates. We see the 2 first fields are also linked to a formula, but the other fields below it are directly impacted by it. So we'll realize that if we make changes to the first field, we'll change the other ones as well. Then we have a number of other fields that here are not directly linked to a formula, but the information here, the cargo load list information, the containers, the trailers, the vehicles, that information linked to the volume or weight or unit of measure is directly, this is the information that we're directly getting from the tabs here, summary. In this case, we have summary 1 for the cargo list for one of the transportations that we're going to be dealing with in TM. We also have one for the second and even a third one here. So all the information we're adding here and that we can see related to items, weight, value, volume, area, lane meters. In this case, I can zoom in a little more on this one too. There you go. So it's helpful for everyone to see. This information will directly have an impact in our forwarding order upload tab here. Can keep moving on to the right. We'll see we have more fields. The quantity unit of measure here as well. One of the fields that is very important, but it's not marked in red as others are, is the forwarding order group column here. We see that we have a number 1, we see that we have a number 2, and a number 3. So each one of these numbers will represent in TM a different forwarding order. So if we have numbers from 1 to 10, that means that in TM we're going to have 10 forwarding orders. If we just have number 1, that means we'll only have 1 forwarding order. So this column is important in the sense that if you just keep the number 1 all the way through, you're only going to generate 1 forwarding order. So it's important that we have different numbers that will be linked and grouped by the, let's say, the transportation that is occurring from one specific location to another. So what we see here, Port-au-Prince to Entebbe on this particular date for this cargo list is directly linked to the number 2 that we can see here, the number 2 section here under the forwarding group column. We can move on to the right and see that we have something called the base BTD reference column, which is basically the MOU reference, also in red. So all the data that we're adding to the summary tabs is going to directly have an impact in the BTD reference column. We have some more columns to the right related to the goods value that again we're taking from the summary tabs. We also have the sales group, which is again in charge or responsible for managing the transportation later on in TM, in this case SGS02. The Incoterm that again we're adding from the summary tab, and the troops contributing country and mission and the linked columns to them. So we have the member country here with the numbers and also the mission with the actual acronym, or let's say the nomenclature that will help us understand what mission we're talking about. And this data is directly taken from the reference tab. Okay, so I think we just took a quick look at this Excel. I'm going to open up a simpler, let's say a simpler looking Excel for the first time around. So let me just close this Excel here for 1 second. And I have all Excels here. I'm going to open the one for COE Air. Okay, the upload form for COE Air inbound flight. And let's play around a bit with that one. And so we understand a bit more how the tabs work. Okay, the presentation, when you guys take a look at it, I have made some slides. There you go. We have some slides that focus on specific things for each Excel. So I'm bringing the Excel now back to the screen. So we have quite a large view here of what the Excel looks like. So before I even touch anything here, let's just say that I have my cargo load list. I have put all the information in the summary tab, okay, because the information that is given there is that info that needs to be carefully put into the summary tab here. And now I have populated all the fields, and we have to make sure that the information in the cargo list matches the information in the summary tab here. Let's start playing around a bit with some of the fields that will have a direct impact in the forwarding order upload. So let me zoom in a little more as well here so we can all have a better look. I'm not going to worry about any of the fields below, okay, because these are taken, this is data taken directly from the cargo load list. I'm only going to be focusing on these here, okay, so I'm going to focus on this section. First thing I'm going to do is I could change the mission. Okay, right now we have here MONUSCO, but we'll see how this MONUSCO mission here will not only affect the reference number in this section here, but will also affect the forwarding order tab, the BTD reference that we see here. Okay, so let's just play around a bit with this. And instead of MONUSCO, we can probably say UNIMID. Click on that, and we see that as soon as we made a change here, our reference number changed. So that's one of the changes. If we go to our upload tab and I scroll to my right, and I'll zoom in a bit more, we have, again, not only has the reference changed here, but also changed under the mission column, as well as the receiving plant consignee information. Okay, if by any chance we don't know the mission name, or the we have doubts, that's what the reference TCC mission tab is for. If we click on that, we have not only all the master data for the troops contributing countries, which are here, and I can zoom into this as well. So we have all the information related to the TCCs, but if I scroll all the way down, we'll have the information linked to the missions. So we have to write exactly what is written here in the field that I was showing you before. Okay, so if we want to change UNAMIR to UNAMI, to UNSCO, to UNSO, we'll see that whatever change we make in the summary tab affects the other tab as well. Okay, so we have that. We changed UNAMID, and that's what we changed here. Now we're talking about an Excel template for air, COE air inbound flight. So we can play around with this and say, okay, we can keep the movement type deployment in this case. Let's see what impact this has. The deploy nomenclature here directly affects our reference number. We see deploy here, and we also see deploy here as well, okay, in the BTD reference number. So whatever changes we make here, so let's say that we have, if we had repat, we'd have repatriation, it changes automatically here as well. Or I think if we just change it to ROTO, rotation, that'll change there as well. And we can see that in the forwarding order, it has changed as well too. Okay, as you can see here. So let's go back to our summary tab. Let's keep it under deploy. Okay, we're going to keep UNAMID here. Let's say if we want to. And now let's see what other fields will directly have an impact there. So the unit will not make any changes to the forwarding order upload tab or any other tab here, but the movement type will. The troops contributing country, we can keep it here with India, but again, if we wanted to change it, again, make sure that whatever we want to add here has to match the reference information in the reference tab. So we'd have to, again, go looking or write, for example, I'm going to use the search option here and write India, okay, and we can find anything we want here. If we want to change this for Pakistan instead, we can do that too. If we wanted to use another one, maybe Nepal, we can do that, and we have it there. So some of them are as easy as just the name Nepal and it's there. But for example, if I want to maybe write Russia, in this case, we have the Russian Federation. So the best option is to always copy the writing here in the reference tab instead of typing it manually. Okay, we need to make sure that whatever it is that is here is also in the summary tab. Okay, let's get out of that. So we're going to keep India and New Delhi as the cargo collection point, but we can change this so you guys see how it also changes. Okay, so we can keep Pakistan, and we see that the reference number changed there as well. I'm not 100% sure what cargo collection point I can see in Pakistan there, but I can, again, you guys are more experts on this. We could always find now, if we go back to the summary tab, we want to find an airport in Pakistan that is also in our master data in our Excel. We just can't put whichever one we want. So maybe we can find it or not. Where would we find our cargo collection point? We would no longer go back to our reference TCC tab here. We would go back to the reference location tab in this case. So we'd click here, and now what we would do is try to find an airport in Pakistan in this tab here. So we can search for one here. So basically, I'm just going to quickly look and see if I can find one for you quickly. Okay, and see maybe if I'm lucky enough to find. So I'm going to write Islamabad, and that should be there, and it's there. Okay, so let me zoom in now that I found it. So this is one of the airports and the locations that is available in our master data. So we have Islamabad Airport. So if I change now the field in the summary tab here, now that I have changed to Pakistan instead of India, instead of New Delhi, I write the information we have here, for example, Islamabad, it should change my other field. So let's write this out. Okay. and we go now to our forwarding order tab, and we have now the TCC is Pakistan. We saw that. We already saw that we had changed the mission. The reference is also changing. We still have deploy, it's COE. We now have the mission and also the troops contributing country. Let's scroll to the left to see now how I impacted the source location. It's now Islamabad, and we have the Islamabad airport. So this is changed, and this is accurate, and this is working because the information that I added in the summary tab is equal to the information that I find in my reference tabs. So it's very important that you select a airport or port that is found in the reference tabs. If by any chance you're looking for another airport that is not here, for example, you use another airport in Pakistan that is, I don't know, usually more common to use, but you don't find it in the Excel. This is one of the points where you're going to have to go and request for master data. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand how this works. We want to change our locations. We want to change our shipping points, let's say, or cargo collection points. We do that first looking at the reference location, looking at the city where this shipping point is, and selecting the location. Very importantly also, if, for example, we're looking for here, instead of Islamabad, what we're looking for is Beijing, correct? So we have now Beijing. Imagine we're talking about China. Just let me click on OK and go to our next one. Here we go. So we have here Beijing 1, 2, and 2 different airports, right? One for Peking and the other one. So whatever 2 locations we're selecting here, when I write Beijing in the summary tab, and you'll see what happens. I'm going to go to the summary tab and just, instead of Islamabad, I'm going to write Beijing. Of course, maybe I want to change Pakistan and say China. Okay, again, everything changes. I'm going to look at my forwarding order here. I'm going to click on close, move over to the left, and now we see that we have our source location has changed. But now the location here is the first one that I selected. So we have Beijing Ney Airport, reference location. Hey, but I want this one, right? I want the second airport. I don't want the first one. So as of now, the Excel will always show the first location. If you want the second location, if you guys look a little bit more to the bottom, you'll see that you have, once you add a new location here in the Excel, you'll see at the bottom that you have several locations linked to that source location. You have one airport, another airport, and another location here. So if you want to add, let's say, the second location, you can make the change and copy and paste it in this source location column here. But now what we tell you, and we highly recommend and actually tell you not to do, is to save that, okay? Because once you make a change like that, the formula in the Excel will pretty much go crazy. And now the next time you want to use this template, it won't be working well. So use this template always as, let's say, your untouchable template, where you're not going to be copying and pasting data, but you're going to be always working with the data that automatically updates based on what you add in the summary. But if by any chance you encounter that situation where you want a different airport that is not showing, you could always copy and paste, but save it separately if you need to save it separately. If not, don't even save it. Just click on the generation of the load list, and then don't save the changes and keep your template untouched. Okay, so that's a very good recommendation, and I hope you guys stick by that. If not, you're always going to be messing up the formulas. So I think that's that explains how these summary tabs work. So I changed the troops contributing country, I changed the movement type, even the cargo collection point, and you saw how that affected the MOU reference number and also the forwarding order upload. You can also change now here the seaport here or the disembarkation port, but you realize that if we're going to change this, for example, if I want to write here the location exactly, I could write Beijing, and it wouldn't really make much of a change. And then our disembarkation airport, we could write, I'm not sure, I'm going to write Darfur in this case. Again, bear with me, I just want to show you how the changes to the summary impact the rest of the Excel. We have our pickup dates and delivery dates, which eventually today is the 9th of March. This is set for the 23rd and delivery date 25th. So whatever change we make here, if I want to say 10th and the delivery date the 11th, I do it in the summary tab. And basically, if I check the forwarding order tab, I have changed both of these, okay, to the dates that I added in the summary. And we also have the Incoterm, DAP. We can also change it here. Again, this is the DAP Incoterm template that I created. I actually saved one for each different Incoterm, but I can always change it to XWorks, go back to my tab and see to the right that I have also changed the Incoterm column here. Okay, so that basically explains all the major changes. You can also add the date prepared. In this specific case, the date prepared won't affect the Excel, but of course it's always better to keep the data in order. So make sure that all the information is correctly added here. Like for example, my final destination here says Goma, while my seaport of disembarkation is Darfur, so I should make sure I change that too. Make sure that all the data is correctly changed and everything meets the requirements. So very important, go back to your forwarding order upload tab. Make sure that you have no error messages in any of the key fields that we see here in red. Same thing for the, so we see we have a problem here with the destination location. So now if I generated this load file, I would have an error in TM as well. So why would I have an error here? I just added Darfur in the summary tab. I just wrote Darfur here directly instead of doing what I was just showing you, right? Looking at the reference location tab. So we always have to look here first and make sure that the data that we're adding is found here. Because if we just do what I did now, we're going to have an error. So if I wrote Darfur here, I won't have anything. I don't know if I can zoom the Excel, but not the search page. So you see, I basically made the mistake I wanted you guys to see. So this will never work in TM. I would have to always make the correct selection. And here I should have the correct destination location. So that means that Darfur per se here is not there as a location. So I could write Darfur, click on enter, and the system will tell me, you know what, you don't have this location here. So it's because I'm not adding the correct city. Okay, I would have to add the correct city, and then based on that, I would be able to find the correct location here. I've been talking for a while here, and before I move on, anything in the chat, Daniel?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So far, no, but maybe we can double check with Brigitte whether she can go around the room and collect questions or comments. Over to you.
I just did, and there's no questions.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. All right, so
do you want to talk about
one?
The summary one? No, we're good to go.
Okay, perfect. So that means that either it was very clear before I started or it's clear now. Nonetheless, works for me. Okay, so again, be very careful. Don't update the summary tab with information you're not sure you have directly in the reference location tabs. Okay, same goes for the troops contributing country as it does for the reference locations. Okay, always make sure that you find first the location. So in this case, I was looking for Darfur, right? So of course, not as Darfur itself, but maybe as Niala. There is something there. So you see, if I add Niala, I will definitely have a change in my Excel. So I'm going to add here Niala in my summary tab just because I want to keep things correct. Okay, so let's say that we're talking about the final tab. So we have here, oh, that hasn't changed here. So why that hasn't changed? Because we have here Darfur. So our final destination is going to be Niala. Again, wrong place, but always, all the mistakes are always good things when understanding how the Excel works. You see, now I finally have the correct description location and destination location. No mistakes, no error messages, my Excel looks good. I'm ready to generate a load list, load file, and start working in TM. Okay, so very important. This is the Excel for COE Air inbound, and I saved this one particularly for DAP. I'm not going to save the changes on this one because I don't know what I may have messed up there. But we have one for XWorks, we have one for the outbound flight, we have one for several locations. We also have the ones for troops, and I'm just going to open it just so that you can see how the tabs change from Excel to Excel. But I'm not going to run through any of these fields as there were no more questions. And I'm just going to go to the generation of the file and go into TM. And maybe we have some extra time to start playing around with personalization and search. Okay, so what I'm looking at here now is a troops Excel file. I can zoom in as well. Basically works the same way as the other Excel, but this one is even easier because if you realize you don't even have a summary tab, in this case, you just have the reference tabs, and all the data you want to add, you would add directly here in this tab itself. So any changes you want to make, you make directly to the fields in red. Okay, so whatever, let's say we want to change Goma to Entebbe, or I'm just really just adding this. There you go. See, this would automatically make the change here. Okay, the dates work the same way. We're sticking to the fields in red, and same thing. Now the fields that will make a difference here in this case are the ones linked to the movement type. So we have the either a deployment or repatriation or rotation. In this case, it wouldn't be rotation because we're only talking about the, I believe, the outbound flights. So what makes the main difference between this Excel and the one we saw before is the fact that you make all the changes in the upload tab. And you have to pay attention to the fields that are marked in red, as these are the ones that are going to make the changes to the other fields in the Excel. Okay, so if you want to change. Yep, Nicole.
The cycle, is that red on red, the 12? Can we, we cannot read it correctly here. Also the TCC looks
okay, yes, this is red on
maybe
red.
Maybe it's due to the
it's red on
WebEx.
red. I can
irritates hearing my voice.
Okay, so yeah, it's red on red. That's why you probably can't see the 12, right? That well. I don't know if I'm going to change the okay, now better?
Merci.
Okay, no problem. And the same thing for Austria here. Let's yeah, there you go, a little better. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so we have our MONUSCO mission, we have our troops contributing country. So any of the changes would be performed in the fields in red. Okay, I think it's self-explanatory. If it's not, stop me and I'll spend more time on this, but I take it as it's clear, it works, and maybe we should move on now to generating our load files, okay? So while I generate the files that we're going to upload into TM, okay, I'm just gonna go crazy here, clicking on some of the Excels and generating these files. So bear with me for 2 minutes. Okay, I'm opening up some Excels here, one for inbound flight, one for outbound flight. Also the COEC for several locations. And I'm just going to generate the files. Okay, so there you go. So we have quite a number of them. I'm also going to do that for troops. And I'm going to do some DAP scenarios as well. So we can see the difference between the DAP Incoterms and the XWorks Incoterms in TM. So basically the main difference is that once we generate our documents and we upload them into TM, all the LOA scenarios will automatically generate freight orders, while the non-LOA scenarios won't. Okay, and we'll take a look at that as well. Okay, and let's see. One more for the several flights. And we're good to go. So I'm going to skip the presentation now. I'm not going to go. I'm just going to show you this very quickly. So the Excel also has slides that will pretty much repeat what I just said. So I won't go through these. I'm just going to skip through these quickly. So everything I just mentioned, all the details of the fields that you need to pay attention to are also in the PowerPoint explained with screenshots and slides. Okay. Everything that we have just said right now. And just a special mention to in UNOE scenarios or STO scenarios, if we were talking about those, in TM, we're able to consolidate, right? To combine freight units to optimize transportation routes. Instead of having two planes leaving from the same place, going to the same place, we can consolidate the freight units. We can have one scenario here, which is basically a link to the COE for several locations Excel. If we're talking about locations within a country and you see this screenshot, one versus the other, we have on the left from Port-au-Prince to India, and we have Mumbai, Chennai, and also Kolkata. So we have these three locations in the same country versus three locations in three different countries. Okay, and the major difference here is that when we go into TM, we'll see that for the case on the left, we would be able to consolidate the freight units. Why? Because they're all part of the same MOU, and also they're all going to the same country but different locations. So we'll see how that works out. And now if we look to the one on the right, since they're going to different countries, basically we're not going to be able to consolidate these freight units. So I just wanted to reference this before we go into TM. Okay, it's very well explained in the slide here too, and I hope you guys understand that. So that should be the last part of the PowerPoint before I start generating. And I'm going to start clicking on the Excels and generating the load files right now. Okay, so we have something to work with. And you also see what happens. If you have generated load files, fine. If you haven't, once you click on the button, the Excel automatically sort of loads another Excel. It tells you if everything's okay. It seems like nothing happened. This is a different type of Excel. Remember the first slide I showed you, you have two documents that show up. One that's a text file and one that's an Excel file. We can close this one here. I won't save the changes on this one. I'm just going to keep generating documents, and then I'll show you where they go in both my desktop and which ones I'll use to upload into TM. Okay, so while I do this, I know we have been already for an hour, maybe more than an hour, delivering the training. I don't know if we need a 5-minute break. We did lose half an hour before we started, so I don't know if you guys want the break or should we just keep going? So let me know. I'm going to keep generating files here so we can play with these now in TM.
We can keep going from here.
All right, perfect, Nicole, thank you. Okay, and maybe I can generate a couple more and that's it. We'll go into TM. All right, so I'm glad that so far so good. In this case, we will generate this one more here and let's see what these look like now in TM. One more, and I'm going to be logging into TM. So I'm going to close my PowerPoint presentation so it doesn't get in the way anymore. And let's get into TM in the meantime. Okay, and I'm going to generate a bunch of these just so that now when I go into TM, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to search for the files that I just generated, of course, after we've uploaded them, and also to personalize the way TM displays the information so that you have an easier time in terms of finding the documents that you just generated. Because a lot of the times, the first times you're in TM, you may be confused as to where things are. Okay, and I believe that could be it. Let's just close this guy for the time being. I don't need that. And I'm also going to close here in the agenda. And here we go. Okay, and I'm opening up TM. let me show you in the meantime while TM loads here, the files that I have just generated, right? I have these all saved in the same place. So I'm going to move over. Here you go. So I have all these saved here. I know this is quite tiny for you guys, but wherever it is that I have stored my Excel with the macros, with the formulas, every time I generate a document, it's going to generate the text file and the Excel file wherever it is you have those saved. Okay. So we have them here. All these text files and Excel files that I just generated for COE are here, the same as for troops. And this is where I'm going to go to search for my files now once I go into TM. Okay, so one more minute, I'm logging in. And I'm going to have to log in first for COE and then for troops. Okay, so let's go Q5T. Okay, here we go. So I'm in, and let me get rid of this screen and just share my other one with you. And here we have TM. Let me zoom in a little more so it's easier for all of us to see. I think that should be good enough for everyone. Okay, so I logged into TM, and basically now what I would want to do is show you guys how to upload the files, right, that I just generated in the Excels. So where do I go? First thing is the tab here, forwarding order management. And again, who would be responsible for uploading these Excel files would be those with the role of the TS01, who as far as I'm concerned here is the MoveCon staff with the role of TS01 would have to go to the tab forwarding order management. And then once here in the section forwarding order, click on mass upload of forwarding orders. Okay, once we click here, this will take us to the screen where we upload our files. Okay, one of the first things we do, instead of execute in background, we click on execute in foreground. Okay, and that gets rid of some of the options we have here. Again, remember that I'm in the training environment, so I'm only going to be using the text file option. So I'm going to keep that one clicked on. I can always run a test, but I'm just going to go direct. And here in the local disk, see, I can click on the matchbox. And that will automatically open the option to access your files in your desktop. Okay, what you have to do is go to this icon here, import the files from your desktop. So we can click on that. Now these windows are usually very tiny, so just bear with me for a second. It's really difficult to maximize. So basically this will go into your computer. You would have to permit access from Umoja into your computer and go
Ryan?
wherever it is you have. Yes.
Do you
Yes.
know if we can also import files from SharePoint?
Good one. Okay, so I'm looking at the options now, and it does say local disk C, videos, downloads, but it doesn't say anything about OneDrive. I have my local disk. It all depends on what the system allows you to access. Right from here, I have my libraries, but I don't see anything linked to OneDrive. Only my desktop, my documents. I would have to check different options. I'm looking at my local disk C, but nothing tells me to access OneDrive. Okay, hold on. No. I do have an option for OneDrive, but it doesn't connect to the files I have there. All right, Nicole. I mean, I can check a little more, but the option doesn't even show up. Actually, if I look into my folders, and I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but if I open up a folder on my computer, I automatically have the OneDrive access there as an option. If I put it here, I have my OneDrive option here. and I can just click on it and select the file from there. But when I click here on the options, I don't. Here, I'm going to close it again. And if I click here, I don't really have an option. It just allows me to go to either my desktop and some network drives, depending on which ones you have available. If you have your OneDrive linked to a network drive, maybe it can. I don't.
Okay, yeah, I'll check, because document upload is also, the normal document upload is also supposed to work from SharePoint.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. And I think if I had my OneDrive linked to one of the networks, I could, but I don't. But I'll check that. Basically, the way would be the same, right? The actions and the steps I'm taking would be the same. We'd click on the icon to access our computer, select the files that we want to upload. You can actually select them all if you basically click on the control button. So I'm selecting all the text files I have here. I can see if maybe I can just scroll down and select these files here as well. Okay, so I'm selecting all of these and I'm going to click on open, and that should populate, see, this section with all those files at once. Okay, and here you go. So I can have a view. This is quite a zoomed view of all those files. So I have the upload files for troops as well as the COE files, and I can basically select one and choose, and I believe I could probably select them all. The problem is if I have an issue, it may be better to just go one by one. Now I'm just going to click on one here first and click on choose and see how that reacts. So basically the system shows your text file here, and all we would do is click on execute. Okay, if everything is okay, we should go directly and get a forwarding order. But if we have an issue, it'll give us an error message like this, right? So we have entries are not correct in Excel. Please correct the error and try again. So, okay, we can click and see what the issue is. And if I click on the I, it tells me invalid delivery time. See, expected format is, pickup date is later than delivery date. Okay, so that's one of those examples of an error that you could get while uploading a file. All right, so basically just click on the I and see what the error message is. Okay, so we can go back. And now let's say, okay, so let me just select another option instead of this text file, which seems to have an error. I don't know exactly which one it is because I was just generating them like crazy. So I'm going to select the second one and see and go in with the second one and click on execute. And maybe this one goes through. So you see, in this case, I have a set of errors. What I'm going to do now is to skip that. Again, we have the I message. Okay, and the same thing. It's probably all the delivery dates because they're probably all in the past. All right, and that is something that you guys also have an issue with, right? I remember when I was talking to Nicole, there were a lot of transactions you had to do in the past. So of course, if you upload a file like this with the dates in the past or the incorrect format of the dates, this is the type of error you're going to get, right? You're not going to be able to upload these forms. So the way to do this is you have to add the dates. Of course, either you have to add the dates in the future in the Excel, upload them. I think somebody was trying to speak. If not, that was just me. So we add the dates in the future in the Excel. Do you guys hear that? Daniel, do you hear that? Is somebody trying to speak up or is that just my headset?
Here, nobody tries to speak.
No? Okay,
Static,
I
no.
hear a, okay, that's just static. Were you hearing that as well?
Yes, yeah, it sounds a little.
Mhm. All right, well, just a robotic voice there. Let me just check the chat for a second, but nothing there. From me? Okay. Still now? Okay. All right, and Nicole, you can hear me fine, right? Daniel was just telling me that my
Yes,
voice
now it's
was
better.
robotic. Okay, perfect. All right, so again, we were talking about dates in the past, right? So how to do this, how to plan transportation for things that have already occurred. We would have to add the correct date in the Excel, or correct date, meaning date in the future, upload this file so we don't get an, but they hear me fine. Yeah, okay. Vale, okay, sorry guys. And then once we upload the Excel file, we would do is change the dates in the system. Okay, so let's go back and let me try to run a, I'm going to try to select all these files here at once. I don't know if I can, but let's play with that for now. Okay, so shift. Now, so let me do control. And no, you can only do one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to choose. Let me run troops this time around and click on execute and see if I don't have an issue there. Okay, it seems like all the ones that I generated have dates in the past. Okay, so let's see how we can fix that. Let's go back in and let's go to our Excels. So what I would do here is basically just select these and get rid of them so I don't have to make that mistake again. Okay, and that's another common error you can get that tells you, you know what, if you have anything open, meaning in TM, if you have these files here, the actual file folder won't let you delete the files here, the text files. You have to make sure that you are out of TM completely to be able to delete those files. Okay, so let me just make sure what the error was, so I make sure I fix that. I think it was basically the dates. So the format is the time format, expected time format, and pickup time format. Okay, that's a first for the time format for me. Okay, let me go back to the folder, get rid of these, get out in TM of this section here so I'm able to delete them. And now it should tell me that I have no problem deleting these. Okay, and here you go, now they're gone. Okay, the same thing for troops. And let me go and see what the time format issue is. So let me open one of these again. I hadn't had a time issue of format yet, but I'll take a look at it and see what it is now. And I'm only going to generate one of these Excel so you guys see how that's done. Once you know how to upload one form, you know how to upload them all. Okay. So let's zoom in here. And let me see that format. So we have our dates, which seem to be okay. We have the March 23rd, 25th, sounds fine here. Okay, and now let's look at the time format. And maybe that's something that explaining all possible things I may have missed. If you guys see here, I don't see any time.
Yeah, it's hidden.
Times,
it's usually right next
exactly.
to the pickup date and delivery date. Those columns are hidden.
Exactly. So I
Yeah,
usually
I
never
also
worried
have not
about
had
that.
a time issue before.
But exactly. So let me see now. I'm going to go select these and make sure I unhide all those sections and see what the time format is here. Okay, so here we go. So you see now we have a number of fields that were hidden basically because they wouldn't make much of a difference when we're uploading these files.
Yeah, we don't really use those.
Exactly. So in this case, it said the time format was incorrect. I'm not even sure if the time, maybe it's because of the 0 zeros here.
No, it takes only the first line.
It takes only the first line. Okay, so we have that issue there and the 12 o'clock there. All right, so you know what? I'm going to run through this one more time. I don't know if it was a period or what, but I'm only going to generate one this time. So I know exactly I can concentrate on the error for just one instead of every other one. Okay, and I'll go into TM now again and fix that time issue. But yeah, it's I've tried this 1,000 times. I never had a time error, but now, of course, I get one. So forwarding order, mass upload form. And once I'm here, again, we do this in the foreground. We have our text file selected and we click on the matchbox. And let's see now, same thing. We have our options here. Okay, this happens every time you have uploaded files here, they will all show up. So you can basically get rid of them. Okay, each one of them by selecting it and clicking on the delete bin here, or we can select these. It doesn't let me select them all, but with control neither. So I would have to go and do these one by one. Or basically just make sure that the new one that I'm uploading is going to show up at the bottom. Okay, all the newest ones you upload are always going to show up on the bottom. Basically, you have the date modified here too, so you know exactly what you're looking at. You can also sort this. So let's just go and add this file. I have it here. Okay, so I'm going to click on that one. We know that it's the latest one. It's here, correct? 3:50, that's the time in Valencia now. I'm going to just select this one file, click on choose, and see if I get an error on this one now. And if I do, there you go. See, now I don't have the error. Okay, perfect. So this is what it should look like when you don't get the error, right? It automatically generates your forwarding order number. And that's how simple it is. You generate your text file, which will always be wherever it is you have your main files. You'll always upload the text, or in production, I believe, Nicole, right? You can also upload the Excel, or actually in production, you only upload the Excel, not the text file.
No, we use only the text file. So Umoja usually uses
files.
the Excel. That's for
Okay,
the
so
subway.
then all right, thank you. So then exactly the way I did, right? We have our forwarding order number here, and everything is fine. All the information in the Excel is now here as well. We can see, and our forwarding order number is this one. I can click on it. So I basically just double clicked on this forwarding order number. And now you guys can't see it on this screen, but TM automatically loaded a new window, which is this one. And let me zoom out a little bit, which is that forwarding order directly. Okay, so I can access that forwarding order directly when I upload it right then and there, or basically I can search for it. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one here on a side, and I'm going to say that I have tons of files to generate and load, so I could always just go back and do the same thing again, right? Select the file, click on one of the files that I want to upload. If it's this one, for example, click on choose, and that's the process, right? Make sure we execute in foreground, make sure we have the text file selected, and once the file is there, we just click on execute. If everything's correct, we'll have a forwarding order. And now I'm not getting anything on the troops because I'm logged in as a user for COE. Okay, so the troops is not really generating, or at least I can't see the forwarding order generated for troops. All right, but the process and the clicks is exactly the same. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the search portion of the training for the forwarding order. So if I click on the forwarding order tab and I want to search for those forwarding orders that I just generated, I would have to go to the tab for forwarding order, click on overview forwarding order, and that will take me to the following screen here, where basically, if you're familiar with ECC or SRM, it's very similar. The search fields work very similarly. They also have the multiple selection option, the match boxes, and you see each one of the fields with the nomenclature to the left. If we scroll down, we'll see all the possible search options we have, even the one created by, okay, which is probably the easiest to find everything you've created with your user, and the results at the bottom. Okay, so we have all our forwarding orders displayed here, but all the ones we see here are the ones, of course, linked to the options that we've inserted here in the variants first, so created by. If I remove this and I just click on apply, I may have more results. All right, so how this works, we can either directly add the forwarding order number, like the one that I had before that I just generated, if I remember it, 21 1 2 3 4 5 zeros 9 6 7, and it's already telling me it's there, it exists, but I have to make sure that if the username or the created by is not correct, I should remove it. Let me just click on apply. And now the search is based on the created by and also the forwarding order that's up top. And we see at the bottom that I only have one result. Okay, so I filtered out all other options and now I just have the forwarding order number here. Okay, if I remove the created by, again, this is going to be the same thing because I've added my forwarding order number up top. Okay, because I knew it. If I don't know it, I could always just remove that and search for things either generically or depending on the field that I know the information from, right? So if I go to the top, I have my forwarding order, I have my forwarding order type. I have more fields like, for example, the movement type. I also have the shipper or consignee information that I can search by. We also have the created by, carrier, life cycle status, and other dates. For example, the pickup date or delivery date are also options. If all this is not enough for you, if you scroll back up, you have the change query option, which if you click on will take you to another page, which has even more search field options. Okay, we can scroll down and see how these are even divided into sections. You can search by MOU, which is probably a very good way to search for the forwarding orders that we want to plan transportation for. Also, the sales organization, very important as well. The business partner information, locations, times and dates, items, statuses. See, so that's a lot more info than we had before. Okay, and that, remember, was going up to the top and clicking on change query. Okay, let's go back. So let's cancel this. And we go back to our previous screen. Okay, so basically the search fields that we're going to be using to search for our forwarding order, the change query option for more results, and then the results, which are right here. Okay, and now we have our results. What you guys see on screen now is, yes? Is there a question?
Yes, Brian, 1 second.
Okay, perfect. All right.
When we generate freight forwarding order or freight unit and freight order, for example, freight order, we will have like 3 or 4 or maybe even more, depends on how many legs we have. Would it be really necessary to have so many numbers? Maybe we can agree and come to the only one freight order number.
I mean, that was the
Okay.
question in the original design. We decided to do the freight orders by means of transport, so that's why you have several, because usually it's trucks and trucks.
Okay.
Yuri, can you mute, please?
Okay. Thanks, Nicole. We heard the beginning, not the end, but I think, yeah, we're basically talking about, at this point, we're not going to be, I think we were talking about the forwarding orders, not the freight orders per se. We haven't arrived to the freight orders yet, but I think Nicole explained that quite well. So for those of you who are listening right now, we're basically just talking about the forwarding orders, right? The forwarding orders and the freight units are generated automatically as soon as I'm done with the upload process of the text file that I just showed you guys here, right? Once I uploaded that file, I searched for my forwarding order. Either I double clicked on it when I generated it, or I went to the search page here and I see all my results. Okay, what I want to show you now, and we still have time. I know we lost half an hour. I also know you guys have to go back to work. We're 1 minute away from the end of the training, but I can keep going if that's okay on your side. Nicole, I'll just keep going, okay? And unless you tell me not to.
Yeah, we're just checking. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, I can skip your post. Around like 11. No, but we started late. That's why.
Yeah, I don't know, Brian. We probably won't have the room longer, but I'm not sure if there's a stopping point in the next few minutes where it makes sense to stop.
Okay, I can show something quickly now, how to arrange the results. It won't take me more than 10 minutes. You think you guys got 10 minutes there? If not, I can always save it for tomorrow. But I realized that we're not going to waste the first half hour every day, right? Because I could always just push the training back half an hour. So everyone's seated and ready, and when we start, we go.
Okay, so we actually can stay in the room. I don't know, maybe we can do like 10 more minutes. Yeah, 10 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so good. The fact that not everybody wants to leave is a good sign from here, Nicole. Thank you. All right, so now that we have our results, right? I'm still on the same page. Okay, I'm not really adding any info here because I want to show you guys. I think that searching for your forwarding order is quite I don't know, it's common sense, right? You can read the fields and add the information according to the field. I just want to show you guys that you can add different types of details in each one of those fields. And if all these are not enough for you, you have the change query, okay? But now we get to our results. And what you see here, the display of columns that you see here and the order in which they're displayed and all this has already been tampered with, right? I have my own personalized display of what I want to see and how I want to see it. And this is important for you guys. So you see how the view says training setup. That's the one I just set up for the training, but I can always switch and use the standard view. The standard view now will reorganize the columns into the system's default setting. Okay, so usually the system will put your forwarding order first, and then it'll show you things like type of forwarding order, ordering party, a lot of info that maybe is not the best for you to see at the beginning, right? Maybe you don't even need all the fields that you have here. If I scroll down and I scroll to the right, you see you have a ton of fields that you may want to have closer. Maybe some of them you don't even want to see. Some of them are blank. So you can set this up in a way that suits you best. And I think this is quite important for you guys too. So let's say that, first of all, I want to rearrange this. I can manually simply click on a column here. Okay, I clicked on the consignee column. If you just click on it, you have an option to sort, ascending, descending. You can even define a filter or simply select one of the consignees that are there, right? One of the options. So you can do that simply by clicking on the column. You want to define a filter, you define a filter, you'll have a window load, which should have loaded. Here you go, quite slow. And we add the information here, we filter, and the results will change. You can also just grab the column and move it over and say, I want this column here. All right, so now you have the consignee next to the forwarding order. I don't want the forwarding order first. You grab it and you move it over. Okay, so that's quite basic. And these are changes you can do right from the results screen, right? Remember, you click, you filter. See, there's too many entries to show. You sort, or you move, dragging and dropping. Now, what else can we do? If I move over to the right, we have an icon here that's called the Open Settings dialog. If we click on this Open Settings dialog, what this will show us is the options to first move the displayed columns around. So I can always move the columns here and say consignee, I want this out of the way, all the way to the bottom, and it disappears all the way to the bottom. I can scroll up to the top and say that I want my type here right under document, or a little maybe ordering party. So you see you can move these displayed columns. But you can do now is also go to the hidden columns. All right, now this is very important because you may have columns here that are very valuable for you. Like, for example, one of the columns that I would always want to see in the hidden columns, if I click on this, sorry, if I click on this hidden columns, I see them all right here. So maybe it's easier for you to just move around here and say, well, you know what? I want to see probably none of these are interesting to me, or maybe they are. You see the amount of columns that are hidden from you that you may want to see, right? The goods value, the Incoterm. So the Incoterm is one of those columns that maybe I want to see. I select it from the hidden columns, and I can even tell it where I want it. I want it right here at the top. I can add, and that'll put the Incoterm field right here, right up top. I can do that for other columns and search for maybe the BTD reference if it's here, or maybe see buyer's reference number. Maybe I want that number too, because I want to have all the references that I can from the load list. So you see, I just added 2 columns here. I can also say, you know what, I want to get rid of everything from here all the way to the bottom because I don't need all these columns. You click on Shift, select, and remove, and now you're left with just the other fields that you want to see. Okay, but now that's only for the column selection. You can also sort from here if you want to already have these columns sorted. And you can select the column that you want to sort, add it here, and tell the system if you want it sorted ascending or descending. Maybe this is better to do in the screen later on. So let's get this out of the way here. You can also add a calculation, and you can also filter. But what's important here is now that I've managed to add some columns to the side, I want to keep this and I want to personalize this. So you haven't done anything yet. If I click on OK, the results page will show me the setup the way I have it displayed here. But the next time I come into this page, it's going to be reset again. So if you want to save it, you first have to save it as. Okay, so you save as, and you tell it, well, this is the test for training. So in this case, you could write your own display. You can say, you know what, I want this to be Suzanne's display of forwarding orders. So there you go. You can write that and say Suzanne's display. And you can even select initial view, which means that every time you go to this page, Suzanne's display will be displayed. In this case, I call it test for training. Initial view, I click on OK. And now see, test for training is there. You also have the other options that I've saved, and we click on OK. And now you'll see how the results change once we go back to our screen. So you see we have the MOU reference number and the Incoterm next to the forwarding order. So maybe a little more useful than the way it was before. Basically because neither the MOU, neither the Incoterm fields were there before. You actually have to display them. But the fact that I saved it, you see the view is here. It's always going to be there. I don't have to do this again. So you can set it up. You can spend a morning and afternoon setting it up the way you want it, seeing everything you want to see. You save it and it's there. And anytime you want to see that setup, you just select it and that setup will show up. And this is very useful. It'll save you a lot of time. Okay, the way I like it is basically the Incoterm, the MOU, the created on date, forwarding order, pickup, source location, delivery. So it's very easy for me to see right from this page what I need to plan and what's still pending planning, where it's going to, where it's coming from, and so on. Okay, we also have other fields. I know the 10 minutes are almost up, but we have other fields that are very important to take a look at. We're going to be learning about this throughout the week, and it's called the life cycle status, the execution status, and the planning status. Okay, maybe I want the planning status over here. So you see this change I just did now, the drag and drop, that's not going to be saved under my views unless I go back in here and save it. Okay, right now it's just a basic change. So I can just now save it, because you see now it's still under the view. Now that I saved it, that change I just performed, the drag and drop, now that's going to remain like that. I'm always going to have planning status next to execution status. What these fields tell me is first, if the forwarding order is already planned, if it's not planned, and so on. Execution status will tell me if events are being submitted or not. And the lifecycle status is basically the lifecycle status of the document as a whole from beginning to end, meaning before planning and also the execution status itself. So we'll get into this tomorrow that we have a little more time. I don't want to close on this note, so I'll just leave it here. But I hope that the upload of the file, the reference locations in the Excel, how to update the Excel, and how to rearrange the columns in TM for forwarding orders was clear. I know it may be a lot for the first day, but I know you guys need to learn a lot in very little time as well. So hopefully we got through to that. Anything, Nicole, on your side, or Daniel in the chat?
No, I think we were good here. That was very helpful. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, hi, Brian. And no actually comments or questions over the chat. So over to you. It was quite clear from this end as well. Thanks.
All right, very good. Well, now, before we close the session, tomorrow's time, same time as today, or we push it back 20 minutes, 30 minutes? And maybe I can stop the recording at this point.
We're tending here for pushing it back half an hour.
Okay, I think that's probably the best base.